Welcome everyone. My name is Gail Mikashonis and I work for Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I work in the Puyallup location. I also am part of the Sew Fun program, so you may have seen me during our Sew Fun videos. And today we are going to talk about ruler work. So this is all those templates and the ruler feet and how to get your machine all set up to work with these templates. So they work with any machine, and today I have a Brother 2450, but any brand, pretty much any domestic machine. They also have some long arm things. We're not really going to talk about long arm today, but the domestic machines have many different feet. So Westalee is a company that has some generic feet, and they come in different sizes. You might hear terms like high shank, medium shank, low shank, and high shank special. They have a nice chart on our website and also at our stores as to which machine goes with which foot. Then many machines nowadays have a brand specific foot. So if you have a Bernina, Bernina makes a ruler foot, Pfaff makes a ruler foot, etc. So if you have one of these, you're going to use a high shank Westalee foot. Now you'll notice that mine might be colored. That's just a little cheat for me. I have several feet and they're kind of color coded on the package. So I painted them with fair nail polish. So yours are really only going to be silver, but I'm looking for a high shank foot that's got this nice slot in here. Now a ruler foot has a thick area down here. It's a circle, and the needle is going to go down the middle, and that is going to allow for templates to bump up against that foot so that you can do all sorts of fun shapes. These templates come in all sorts of different sizes and shapes, and they don't tuck up underneath that foot, so you can use them as a guide. So I've taken off my foot on my machine, and then I'm going to use that screw that held the ankle on, and I'm going to attach my ruler foot. Okay, so once I get this screwed in, I'm not going to tighten it. I'm just going to leave it, kind of adjustable up and down because I don't know exactly where it needs to sit just yet. Let's start out with the table. I'm going to set these templates aside. There's 6 different templates in the starter set, and each one is just a little bit different shape. And that gives you an opportunity to play with many, many different shapes. So I'm going to set those aside, and we're going to concentrate on the one that comes with the foot itself. Okay, get that out of the way. I need to also look at the bobbin and the thread. Now the bobbin, I'm going to drop in. This is a drop-in bobbin. I'm going to tuck that through the tension area like I normally would a bobbin, but I'm not going to cut my tail on that little knife there like I would normally, because I need a nice long tail to pull up later. So I'm just going to leave that kind of sitting there like that, and then I'm going to put my thread in. Now notice I still haven't tightened that. That's okay, I haven't forgotten. I'm using a black thread today so that you can see it on this blue fabric. You can use contrasting thread, you can use same color thread. It really depends on what look you want. And you can use any brand, any type of thread, but for this ruler work, I really, really like the King Tut from Superior. Okay, so I'm gonna put that on there and thread my machine. Okay, use the needle threader there. Now needles, I'm probably going to go with something a little bit larger, a 12 or a 14, so that I can travel in different directions and it'll still catch that thread. But that is going to be determined on your weight of quilting thread. Okay, now here comes the point where I've got that tail there, And I'm going to go down once and back up. And you kind of notice that, oops, I can't put my foot down. That's because, or my needle down, is because my foot is still up. There's really not enough room. So I'm going to put the foot down, put the needle down, and put the needle back up. And that is going to pull that bobbin thread up from the bottom. There we go. And if you missed it, that's okay, because we're going to do it again here in just a minute. I'm going to tuck in my little bobbin cover, and I'm also going to put that foot back up so I've got some room. I'm going to use product called the Grid Glider. Now this is going to cover all of the places where the extension table meets the machine, meets the throat plate, and all of that stuff. If I can get the back off of it. So one side is going to be very grippy, and one side is going to be very, very smooth and slidey. All right. Now the grippy part is kind of like a sticker, but it's not. If it does get unsticky at some point, you can just wash it and it'll get sticky again. So I'm going to cover up all of those areas except the needle area there. Okay. Now we still haven't tightened our foot. I'm just going to use that out there, and then I'm going to slide this back in. Now, I need to do a couple of adjustments on my machine. I need to set this for free motion. That's going to drop my feed dogs. In this particular machine, it looks like a little curlicue with the foot that is normally done free motion with, but it's a little button right there, and that's going to drop the feed dogs. And I also need to lower the foot. Now I can tighten my foot here for adjustment. I need to be as close to the fabric as possible and still be able to move the fabric. So let me tighten this up and see how that is going to work. And if I can still move my fabric, which is good. And this particular machine also, as soon as I start, it just goes down just like a half a tick lower, and I still can move my fabric, so that's good. All right, remember I mentioned that we were going to pull up that bobbin thread one more time. I did take 2 stitches, so I was able to grab that thread, and I can pull my tail up here. All right, now the reason I'm going to do that is because I don't want my bobbin thread, my long tail, to float all around underneath here and get covered with stitches over and over and over and over again. So I'm going to pull it up to the top so I can keep an eye on it. Okay, I'm going to put the foot up, and I'm also going to grab my top thread, which is black, and pull it down through the foot. So now both of my threads are in between my fabric and my foot. Okay, we're tightened up and we're ready to go. We're going to do a little test over here in the corner. I'm going to have my hands on both sides and put my foot back down, and I'm just going to do a little bit of stitching just to make sure that this is going to work for me, and I'm going to actually get stitches. If I have skipped stitches, I want to try to figure out how to get that foot just a little bit lower, and if I can't move my fabric, then I'm going to have to make this just a little bit higher. Now in general, this is going to be in the same place each time, but if I have a thicker quilt sandwich, then I'm definitely going to have to adjust that foot again. So I'm going to stitch in circles just to make sure I'm not skipping any stitches. Looks like I'm good. Okay, so you would want to do this on a practice, right? So I'm going to put the foot up, I'm going to put the needle up so I can pull those threads out. Now remember, you don't want to use your cutter for these techniques because that's going to cut those tails really, really short, and you won't be able to pull them up again. Okay, I'm just going to slide over a little bit, and we're going to talk about the templates themselves. Now this is a marking ruler, crosshair ruler. So it has some gouges or some slots in it at different intervals, and I'm going to do just a little bit of marking And this happens to be a friction marker, which means my marks are going to go away with an iron. And I'm going to do a straight line here. Okay, so I've got a few marks here to play with. And the next thing was my straight edge ruler. Okay, I have straight lines on this side and curved lines on this side. I also have some marks, and that's why I chose this blue fabric. Let's see here. So we can see those marks against the blue fabric. Those are going to be my 1/4 inch marks. Every time I stitch with this foot, my needle is a 1/4 inch away from the edge of my foot or my ruler edge here. So I do have to account for that in different cases. So right here I've got a straight line that runs right along the top of my fabric. So by doing one edge, I'm going to just sink my needle right there. And in order to judge, where to get my second edge, if I put my ruler here and I lined up the edge of my ruler with my mark, then by the time I stitch across there, my needle is going to be a 1/4 inch off from that mark. So also included in the package, or some packages, or available separately as well, is called the ruler gauge, seam gauge. So this has a 1/4 inch, a 1 inch, an 1/8 inch, and a 1/2 inch marks. And I'm going to line up right over here the edge of that seam gauge with the mark, which will put my template a 1/4 inch away from that edge. I'm a 1/4 inch away from here, and I'm going to give my ruler gentle pressure, and I'm going to move my whole piece of fabric along the edge of the fabric here. And I'm also going to keep my machine at about a medium speed, and I'm just going to move this just across like that. I can leave my needle down. You do want to set your machine for needle down. Actually, I've got a little bit farther. I'm going to just keep going. And then I'm going to go down this side. Now these rulers work on the left side, the right side, the front, the back. You can put them just about anywhere. So we're going to go down this side. Now notice I did not move my fabric. I am moving my fabric, but I didn't twist my fabric. Let me say that. So I'm not spinning this fabric. So this is a small piece. I'm sure that my machine could handle, moving my fabric and going in different directions. But if you think about a large quilt, you've rolled it all up and you've stuffed it in the machine. If you're not used to moving your fabric and keeping it all in the same general registration, then you're not going to have much fun with that king size quilt, because you're going to want to go a different direction. Now I'm going to go back this way. And then I can go any which way I want. So you can mark things out to do different patterns, but a lot of the ruler marks here are going to help. So let's say that I wanted my rows to be a 1/2 inch apart. Then I can travel this way. I can line up the black thread on one of the lines on the ruler, and I've got Echo quilting. Now your stitch length is just going to come down to practice. It's also going to be affected by your table, the height, The chair, the height, actually I am much lower than I should be. I should be sitting up a little bit farther because you want your elbows to be kind of resting like this. And that's all gonna be, it's all gonna go into how your stitch length will look at the end. Okay, so let's take a look real quick. Straight lines, you know, they're very, very basic, they're easy to do, and they can be very, very useful. These are all straight lines in this pattern. This is just a little like a hot pad, but all of those were done with this simple ruler right here. All straight lines. Then some of the other ones in the kit give you patterns like swirls and clamshells. And then there are some that are known to Westalee called Spin-E-Fex or Spin-E-Fex rulers. And they give you things that work off of those marks that we used from our ruler, right? Here was our 8-way crosshair ruler, and this is an 8-way pattern right here. Those were the original marks. And those use a push pin or a thumbtack in the middle. And there's a little hole in the template right here for a thumbtack to go, and then they can just spin on that thumbtack right here in the middle of the design. So you can have one there, you can have one there, you can have one there, and just sew around here, and you sew around there. And I can show you how that works really, really quick. And needle up. So here was my crosshair marks. I'm just gonna skip the thumbtack at the moment, put the foot back down, but I'm just gonna have the foot right along the outside edge, or the inside edge I should say, of that template, and we'll just go around that way, we'll go around this way. And I started at A, I'm gonna stop at B, I'll spin this a little bit, now I'm at A again, and I'm just gonna go around the corner again. Oh, it's okay if you miss the template every once in a while, that happens. If it's really, really important, you can back up and catch that and then just pick out, you know, the parts that you missed. But the best thing about these is if you stand back and look, you're never gonna notice anyway, so. All right, I just have one more sample to show you. I'm gonna grab real quick, and that's this one. Westalee has a kit. It all comes in a little bag. There's a video, there's all the templates you need to make all of these blocks. So I have kind of a two-tone color going on one side, and this was all done on a machine with the ruler and the templates, and then I've got all my colors on that side. So it really is an amazing way to add quilting to your project. And you can quilt something you've pieced, but you can also have the quilting be the feature of your quilt. So I hope you get out those templates and that ruler foot and give it a try. It just takes practice. You can always check out other items on our website at qualitysewing.com. You can come into one of our stores if you're local, or you can give us a call on the phone. All right, enjoy sewing. Thank you.